Howdy folks. So I had a little time over the holidays to finally relax and try some fun tuning experiments, and I thought to myself, hey, I'll get on Hawaii Bad Boys site and I'll look up all the hype top of the line tunings and I'll try and copy them, and I'll be a huge turd. But you know, part of this is that I figure these companies have a good starting point for their hype headphones because they have a house curve, and that house curve surely took them a long time to develop, many iterations, and so they kind of use that as a starting point and then make minor changes to the point where you get something different but also good. And I thought, well, and that's how I do my own tunings, you know. But I thought there's just so many frequencies that we can mess with. It's not so much that like I'm tuning randomly and then just coming across stuff, although that certainly happened in the beginning, but at this point it's not. It's very much on purpose, but to adjust so many variables is just such an iterative process that takes me a huge amount of time, and I won't necessarily catch all of the gold that might be there. So be a turd and copy other people. Some of these really expensive sets, they're expensive for a reason, and that's because they have good tuning and usually a lot of drivers, and it's a pain in the ass to make them and such. But so first one I tried was this was like a couple weeks ago, but this is the let's see, the Indigo. That's the Unique Melody Indigo, and that was actually a guy commissioned me to make him a set for live playing, as it turns out. And I just felt like, well, for one thing, the set that I had wanted to be sort of an Indigo style tuning, but for another thing, once I actually tried it with that tuning, it was very, very good. So we're talking live monitoring of vocals and other things. Particular gentleman is very picky about locking to the drums, and so he wants to hear himself and also everything else really clearly. I suppose probably not in a hyped manner, but he still does not want to just say like hear vocals, right? He wants to hear everything really well and also perhaps use them for music listening. So that hit the mark really well, and I think I got that about, let's say, about 85% within 1 decibel of the actual graph. That one I think didn't quite hit the mark up above 10K, but so then, you know, the next one I tried was the MEXT, Unique Melody MEXT, and part of the reason I'm trying those is because the planar drivers really like flat tunings and they sound really good like that, whereas if I try that with a dynamic driver, it's just like, get the fuck out of here. No. You need multi-drivers or some insanely good planar, or I don't know, some new technology, maybe MEMS, to really pull that off. So in any case, I did that, and that sounds, honestly, I was underwhelmed with the MEXT. Like, it really buried vocals very much. You get a huge sound stage and a huge amount of let's go this way, Chuck. Huge amount of air and OCDs and details and everything, but the bottom line was the vocals were just absolutely not the center of the show. Perhaps the real MEXT is better, for sure, but I think based on the tuning, it can't be that far off. So fun set, but not for me. So then I went on to this is actually the same set. It was a one-off S12 driver. And I say one-off, the reason is because the extension from 10K to 20K is within well, it's basically the same as the mid-range, about 800 hertz. So same energy, and it's fairly linear. There's really no bobbles in it, so it's just like, Jesus Christ. You could put a bunch of EST drivers in a set and you're gonna hit something that wasn't even as linear, but as extended. So really good starting point to try some of these really expensive extended sets. Hold on. Chaco, wait. So, did that. Hey, wait. You gotta wait. Ugh. Freak me out, dog. Alright, so then yesterday I was like, alright, more hype, more stuff. Oh, by the way, I did the Fur Audio Radon 6, and I got that actually even better. Starting to get better at really nailing these, although of course the exact set of planners I'm using helps a lot. But Fur Radon 6, Fucking amazing tonality. I would say that I actually kind of got blasted out by the air. I tend to listen loud, and I mean, perhaps I think those have EST drivers in the uppers, but that for sure comes across differently as a planner. The planner, like point source we call it, or the source for the treble, if it's a 14 millimeter, 14.8 in this case millimeter driver, that treble is emanating from the entire driver plane. So you want to compare 14.8 millimeters to the nozzle of an EST, which is like, shit, I don't know, maybe like a 1.5 millimeters in diameter. The point source is much smaller, even for quad ESTs. So I just feel like even with the same amount of like energy tuning in the airs, planner is gonna be just more energetic there no matter what. So I decided, hey, I'll tune the air down, and it is quite a tuning thing to pull the air down while not killing the treble, because you know, if you're going to put something that's going to affect let's say 8K to 9K, I mean, you have to get that thing, whatever's absorbing that energy has to be like extremely on the money. It can't be random. So it's very hard to do that. We'll just say that. I have to do that acoustically in other ways. Not damping it. There's just fucking damping does not work in those areas. It's just, there's too many frequencies and too much variables. And I suppose if I had like a manufacturing capability, I might be able to pull out something such like, I was thinking like the Dan Clark series of planners. I know he does his own drivers in-house, and he uses quote-unquote metamaterials. And for sure those metamaterials are absorbing and letting certain frequencies through, sort of smoothing the planner out. And I'm imagining that took him a long time to actually produce those materials, whatever they are, metamaterials. In any case, I don't have that capability. I'm just getting into the weeds here, but things I'm thinking about. So then yesterday I was like, yeah, I'll do another hype set. And I, with this one particular one-off set, I called it Laser Pants, because like just out of the box it was like, fuck, I'm cutting my nut hairs off with treble. Unbelievable. And actually I tried tuning it about 100 different ways, and by now, and the air stuff never goes down ever. I finally figured out how to make it go down, but it's only by not making it go down, but by making everything else go up, for lack of a better word. So yeah, but anyways, so I got the Empire ears, tuned that up for hours and hours yesterday, and I actually got it within 1 decibel for like, shit, I'm gonna say like 95% of the whole graph, and that's like all the way into the air stuff. Turned that on, blasted it out, and like, okay, the air is same shit, man. Like again, planner versus ESTs, but probably ESTs, but had to cut down some of that air. So I took the air down by about 5 decibels, and got that in my pocket right now. So basically graph matched, except for the air stuff, which I tuned down a little bit because I didn't quite like it doesn't volume scale at that point, because you know, medium volume is like super fucking detailed already, and then you turn that up and it's just like, nope, too much, too much. And not even details, it's like the harmonics and the upper like ringing out of stuff. And so just what I wanted to say though is that tuning, not when I got it and popped in my ears, it is fucking amazing. Like, just, I don't think I could have randomly iterated to the point where I just happened to find that. So yeah, being a turd, I'm gonna copy people now, because now that I understand that like these companies that have very expensive sets, they're expensive for a reason, and that reason is because the tuners are really good. They're rock stars. They use really high quality drivers, and the build process is very hard. It requires lots of machinery probably, and money and everything else. So that's why these prices are so high. And I think people kind of lose track of the fact that it is not just the driver materials, the drivers you're buying, it is everything. There is so many variables that go into tuning IEMs. It's just unbelievable, really. It's truly unbelievable. And so then, you know, talking about graph matching, you know, the industry standard for left to right graph matching is like 3 decibels. And so here's what that means, is not so much like, you cannot extrapolate that to mean that if you look up two graphs on, say, a Squig site, and two IEMs, and those are within 3 decibels, they're gonna sound the same. No, fuck no. No. What it means though is that you have the same curve overall, like a lot of it, let's say 95 to 98%, but you got a couple little bobbles here and there where the drivers maybe weren't like ultra well matched. But overall, you put those in your ears and they sound exactly the same, left to right. So the point I'm trying to make is that there's like a thread on the TurdFi forums, HeadFi, that we're talking about how the new Theaudios is like the Monarch Mark III, and then the, like, I don't know, was it Prestige LTD and something or other, Hype something 4 or 10 or I don't know. But they all like, so they, you know, they posted some overlaid graphs and it's like, look at all this, man, it's all the same tuning. Why are they doing this? They're just, it's a money grab. And it's like, well, look, man, whoops. If you actually want to stand back 5 feet, squint your eyes, and have a compacted graph, yeah, they look exactly the same. But if you actually open your eyes and zoom in a little bit, there are small differences that add up into big differences over the entire frequency range. It's not just little bobbles, you know. These are over like 1,000 decibels, 1,000 hertz. You have a big change. That is not a minor thing. So big differences between left to right matching and just overall graph matching. Just, it's not, you cannot compare the two things, but I do know this. So when I'm trying to tune my planners to top of the lines, I'm being extremely careful to actually hit the entire curve. That means everything from the subs, 20 hertz, all the way to as far as you pretty much can hear, so 15 to 16,000 hertz. And the most important parts of that are, of course, between 20 and 10,000. However, and I will say this, that if you screw around above 10,000 hertz, you are absolutely changing the air factor, the reverb, the way the reverbs come out of music, how long they trail out, the harmonics of certain instruments will sound dead or alive or too much. So that stuff tremendously matters, although it's hard to hear. If you just isolate it, when you combine it with everything else, it's not hard to hear. And then speaking of that, this actually blows my mind. So I've got this set in my pocket, the fake Empire Ears Raven. And so I was checking that out last night. It actually kept me up till 2 in the morning because I was just like, this fucking tuning is amazing. I wish I had thought of it, but just really blowing me away. And then I got my LG quad DAC phone just because I'm in bed and I just didn't feel like dragging the equipment out. Also, I was tired. I just wanted to see how it reacts, you know, because I do like to be mobile, and I do want to know if I can just rock it without going through a bunch of hoops. And I would say, well, the first thing I noticed is that there is actually I could max out the volume on my phone in the quad DAC mode, and it's loud enough, and that's about all you get. So I'm imagining if I really wanted to like bass head or something, it's like, nah, not out of the phone, but good enough for general music listening, just fine. So I started playing with some of the settings just to kind of like, I like to do this because it's just right in my face. So the quad DAC has the you know, the roll-off filters. They got the sharp, let's see, sharp, soft, and something else, slow, I think, something like that. And all the DACs have different words for the shit, but they are different roll-off filters. I started flipping between them, and because of the fact that this planner, this tuning has so much air, I did not really expect, and honestly, 99% of sets I can't hear the differences. That's the God honest truth. But this one, I can hear it. First fucking time, I would say. It's also maybe the first time I actually sat down and really, really carefully listened on an extremely high-end, extended tuning. And so what I found was essentially the top one, which I think is, I'd have to look it up. It doesn't really matter what it is, because the point was I could fucking hear it every time. And I thought to myself, man, I gotta try and like randomly do this, except I don't have someone to do it for me. So closed my eyes and I just kind of like slid my phone around and started tapping randomly on the screen because there's only a couple buttons there, and it changed a few times. I don't know what I hit, Sat there and thought to myself, right, it's got to be one of the two bottom ones, which is like slow, and there's like, okay, one is clear and one is natural, and the other one is like reverby or ambient. And so I'm like, hey, this sounds a little dead to me, just a little bit, like it's so minor. But the track I had a lot of reverbs that were ringing out, a lot of air up there, very, very good mix. And it was like, hey, that's one of the bottom two, and I just kind of guessed between the two because both of them are fairly close. And yeah, in fact, it was the very bottom one, which was like, I think it's slow, which is called natural sound or something like that. So then I did it a few more times, landed on what I thought sounded different again. And this one sounded actually a lot different. So I'm thinking, all right, that's the top one, which is like the ambient reverb DAC setting. Fucking nailed it. And I did that a few times and pretty much got it. I think I screwed up the two bottom ones like about twice out of about 20 times, but I got the extended, like the top one, the ambient reverb versus the other two, right, like basically every time, 100%. So I had to fuck around with my finger a little bit for that. Kept hitting like the swipe bar and shit. But kind of proved to myself that, in fact, given a good enough headphone, some of these things that people actually recite as a mantra that you can't hear it, it's fucking doesn't matter and blah blah blah. Yeah, no, the human ears are quite fucking amazing in my opinion. There's a couple studies that show that the timing differences between your left and right ears, the human brain can perceive down to like one fucking, is it a picosecond difference? It's a few picoseconds, something close to that. It's an absolutely unbelievable detection that you would never guess. But it's only the difference between the left and the right ears. It's not something you can hear just straight up. It's just your brain processing that. So you'd say it's an audible effect. It's not something you could ever consciously sort of pull out. But it is in fact how we hear in stereo and how we hear depth perception and shit behind your head and above your head and everything else. Also, the ear cup, the ear shape influences how that timing delay hits your. And by the way, timing delay is a phase. That's actually what phase is. So phase matters drastically. And there's my long spiel about copying top of the line sets, but having a lot of fun. And geez, man, I'll recommend the Empire Ears Raven without even hearing it, although I would say it doesn't volume scale super well. But for medium to high volume listenings, it should basically blow everyone's nuts off. Also, just to mention, with all that, I'm like, I bet it can't play metal well. It actually played metal pretty fucking well, which, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the best metal tuning ever, and I haven't quite discovered the secrets, but I know there's a lot of mid bass in there for sure. Right on, I'll talk to you later.